there's like a 10-second lag.
You good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, welcome to the Providence Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, December 17th, 2020. We have a quorum. My name is Keith Chesley, President. To my left.
Walt Dietrich, Vice President.
Katie Hedlund, Treasurer.
Neil Merrill.
Bill Chapman, Secretary.
So I'm Tasha Davila. I'm the community manager, and we have Larry Hartman, the VP of our division here, as well as Felicia McMillan, who is the the assistant manager. I was going to say the vice president. And then Jody Davison is also here virtually as the director of ops for management. So moving on to the resident open forum.
Yeah, and I understand we don't have anything for the first one.
Does the board members who are the present board homeowners have anything for the homeowner forum?
This is the first meeting with 2 new board members, so congratulations, both of them. Welcome to the team. Thank you.
Here. Anything else? When will we be doing these bids?
So the first one starts in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So we can move on and then come back to that whenever we get to that.
Okay, very good. 3, action items.
There are no action items for this meeting.
Yeah. Board reports, community manager report.
Thank you, Keith. So for the community management report for October, I know that I had sent you guys the management report with 5642, but that number we pulled with the VMS report, so we're in a new system, and the reporting that we pulled just pulled the wrong number. It included the commercial as well. So we are still at 5637. We are not at 5642. Management sent 49 welcome packets in the month of October, and there were 1,202 owners who are signed up for electronic savings.
How are the brownstones coming along?
Brownstones are coming along. They haven't sold a unit yet, though. They're still in the process. So next we have the review and consider the committee reports. These are informational, unless you guys have questions.
Someday we'll get back to live meetings. We'll have the committee members here and actually read their reports. The management staff doesn't want to review them. Are there any committee reports to be read?
We were not planning to read them out loud.
Okay.
Okay.
So moving on, let's go to the next item, which is review and consider Oxford Commons transition.
I've got a couple questions about that. Let's just transition from declarant. Is this KB Home standing in for the original declarant as a successor, or?
I wasn't aware that there was a different declarant
I
besides.
mean, there's no declaration for Oxford Commons individually.
Not for, no, but they're turning over that property because it sold all their units and they've completed.
Right, so this refers to KB Homes as a declarant, but
Yes, Katie Bush was the builder.
is that because they're a successor in interest to the Cliffs Edge LLC?
I don't know if it's.
No, so they're a builder.
But they haven't filed a declaration for that neighborhood, right?
No, because it's a benefited area.
Right, so I'm just questioning why they're referred to as declarant.
Because they have definite rights for that neighborhood for being the builder. So it's transition from builder control to the association.
Okay, I want to clear on how that works when there's no declaration to be a declarant of, which is what I've been asking for us to provide me with some supplemental declarations that actually define the neighborhoods and things which don't seem to exist. The second thing is.
So you were not able to find what you were looking for?
Those are not supplemental declarations. Those were superseded by the declaration that you're using now. So that there should be something subsequent to the declaration, the main declaration, that says what properties belong in which neighborhoods and designate the neighborhoods by name according to that declaration. It says it's done in Exhibit A to the original declaration, but it isn't. And I haven't found any supplemental declarations after that that specify the neighborhoods. The other question is they've turned the streets over to the association. Who accepted the streets on behalf of the association?
I did.
And did you have an inspector present too?
No, myself and Jody went out and met with Katie Holmes and walked the property.
And is that standard practice not to have an inspector who actually can evaluate the quality of the streets?
It was not my understanding that an inspector would need to be there at all.
What did you do to verify that it was done correctly?
We just did a visual inspection.
I remember being on the transition team when Providence went from declarant to home art control. Obviously, 5,600 homes is a bigger deal, and they had the committee, as I said, and they did things like spot check different properties to make sure that they were the owner information, the titles and things like that. Was anything like that done for Oxford Common?
No,
In my experience, when you do the transition takeover, you have a property inspector, just like you would have an inspector for a home inspection when you buy a home. Someone who's actually an engineer who can verify that what you're accepting is actually adequate.
that did not happen.
Okay.
Any action to take on this?
What next? Review and consider Keller Williams' proposal for electrical outlets promenade.
Well, wait,
Is
just
it-
just to be clear, is it Keller Williams or KD Williams?
Neither one. It's Kelleher Davis, according to the estimate.
Okay, it's not the realty firm.
It's not the
Sake of-
realty
sake of
firm,
clarity.
no, no.
That confused me when I saw it.
Sorry, I'm sorry, you guys, I should have been more clear on that.
Do you have their official electrician's name as electrician? Do you have their name you can share?
The name of the person that they're sending out?
The business name of the electrical company?
No,
That's KD Williams, is it KD Williams?
What
The
about-
other person?
On the estimate, it says Kelleher Davis Contracting.
right, so Keller Davis Contracting, Katie, I think because previously this company recently just switched names and we knew them as Katie Williams previous to this.
Okay.
Yes, they just-
Okay,
yeah.
so it's not the realty firm, just for the sake of clarity.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
Okay.
so we're settled on Keller Davis.
Keller Davis.
Okay.
So is Jody, what's going on here? with this
Yes.
election?
So we had them up to troubleshoot some electrical issues in the promenade. So they are proposing to reconnect loose wires and underground boxes, replacing receptacles and weatherproofing components. So you have the attached proposal. And so it would be management's recommendation to move forward, and the financial impact is $3,000.
What was going on with the problem with the electrical?
Essentially they weren't working. So when we were putting together different ideas for the holidays, there was a portion of the promenade that wasn't allowing the amount of electricity to have blow ups and lights or anything like that.
Are these electric lines that are used for permanent lights or just for special occasions when things are plugged in?
Just for any occasion that they're needed.
When have they been needed? Is it just for displays?
Mostly for events, I would say. I have a history, I'm not positive, but yes.
Events, and if residents want to go out there and utilize the space as well, we don't have electricity, should they want to put something out there.
And these were completely functional until recently?
Correct.
Last time, yeah, when we checked, they were
But we had
functional.
red, whites, and blues, last May. And then, we had a couple of, earlier events in January, they were working fine, from probably non-use or vandalism or whatever.
Do we observe vandalism? Do we observe vandalism or remnants of vandalism?
So there's been a lot of vandalism, especially with the bollards. There's always vandalism with the Walling situation, so that could have been tying into that as well.
What kind of vandalism is there with the balls?
They get toppled over, people try to jump over them, the top of the bollard lights have been, vandalized, removed. The plastic that goes into the top, people have punched holes in them. I mean, the list goes on.
I'd like to make a motion that we engage Kelleher Davis Contracting to make these electrical repairs in the promenade.
Second?
Aye.
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 And then not to interrupt, but we do have our first vendor that was scheduled for 6:15. So they are currently in the waiting room. Just for, however, if the board wants to continue doing a couple of new business items, or if you'd like me to admit them now.
Make a motion that we take the meeting out of order to address these, presentations at this time.
Second.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So your very first presenter is going to be Par 3. And so they only provided a bid for the maintenance contract.
So we're not going to ask them questions about the irrigation retrofit because they did not bid that.
First one, you said part right, okay.
Correct. So give me 1 second and we'll get them in here.
What letter is this? Just. What letter? What section?
Hi, guys.
This is going to be,
Thank you so much for joining us. So it is a little bit of a different setup. You'll see we do have a room with some Providence tables. So those are going to be our board members. And they are the ones that are going to be interacting with you guys from here on out. You have the next 15 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us. You're on mute too, so you may, Curtis, you may want to, yeah.
Okay, can you hear us now? Okay, my name is Sean Buckley. I'm one of the original founders and owner of Par 3 Landscape. And this is Curtis Hyde. He's our vice president that manages all of our maintenance. We started this business. I won't get into a long history of the company, but we started in 1995. So we're in our 26th year. Started with 1 truck and 5 employees. We built it up over the years to probably close to 500 employees and 150 trucks. We built it with this property, Providence, in mind. This is the target market that we really looked for. Can you guys still see us and hear us?
yeah.
Okay. We really wanted to focus on the large master plan communities. And right now we currently do Pecole Ranch, which we've had for over 10 years, 15 years. We've done a complete renovation on their flood channels and their landscapes with our in-house landscape architect, in-house construction team. I encourage you to go look at that property. We do similar properties to this, would be Desert Shores. We do all of Southern Highlands. We do Summerlin South, Summerlin Ridges, which I encourage you to go look. I love that plant palette and that design. But our focus was on big, large master plan communities. I think what separates our company from some of the other companies are we are a small local owned company only in Las Vegas. We have 3 owners that started the company, are all still involved to this day. We live, breathe, eat, sleep it day to day. We are, I believe, one of the only companies that have a full-time safety director that's bilingual, that teaches safety and training weekly for our crews in the field and in our office. We have a full-time dedicated water management team that does irrigation management. We've created a division with that. And we believe we have one of the top guys. He's been in water management 36, 40 years, Tom Radin. We've got a full-time pest spray and turf management guy that was in the golf course business his whole career. tremendous guy. He's a principal spray guy, and I believe we're up to 17 certified spray techs, and he manages that division. We have a tree division with 4 bucket trucks that we handle all of our tree trimming in-house. We have 6 certified arborists that will spend time in the field looking at trees and working with the crews. We have a licensed landscape architect, and she has 3 designers under her. 2 are dedicated to construction and 2 are dedicated to enhancements on our existing properties. And then we have a full landscape construction division, which includes new construction and enhancement. I would say 70 to 80% of our business is commercial maintenance. That's why we started the business, and that's what we feel is our focus and our bread and butter. Everything else supports the commercial maintenance. I can let Curtis talk a little about the property, and then we're welcome to any questions that you guys have.
Jody, I didn't hear right at the very beginning. If you just asked us to present our bid, or if you wanted us to discuss any of the irrigation as well.
It's really up to the board. So they do have your proposal that you guys did provide. They've looked over it. So this is more of a forum. I'd actually pass it to the board for any questions that they may have specifically.
Okay, perfect. So we'll just turn it over to you guys, and we'd welcome any questions, and we'll be glad to try to answer anything you guys have on your mind regarding our bid.
I have a couple. What is considered overtime?
For you guys, nothing is overtime unless we get an after hours bid or call for like turning off or fixing a irrigation. But just for regular overtime is if any guy's working past 40 hours, we have to pay him overtime. But that's not passed on to you unless we have some sort of emergency situation that is required.
And what is considered after hours then?
Say that again.
Or after hours.
We generally are like a 7 to 4. I think your guys' RFP called 7 to 6, which we're fine with. 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. But our office is usually closed at 4:30.
But we have a 24-hour emergency call, and then your account manager or field manager would be available to you almost 24/7.
Did you have a question?
You said at the beginning when you switched to the gentleman on your left, that you talked about walking the property.
Yes, we both spent hours and hours walking, driving, touring the property. I mean, we have a few questions for you guys at the end of this, but we have spent a considerable amount of time on the property. We take into account that we're not the landscapers, so we don't open clocks and open valves and really get into it. But we look at the condition of the plants, the grass, the trees, the age of the property. So I think we have a pretty good feel, and we bid this over the years for the on and off for the last
10 years.
10
I probably
years
bid
we
it
bid this.
three times now.
How do you find the condition of the property to be?
I think we discussed that at length before this, and it's what, 14 years old?
Close enough.
I think it is getting to the point where you've got, I know you're trying to do a natural pruning for the specs, and for the most part, that's, I would say, being done 50–60% of the plants. But you're getting to the point where the plants are outgrowing the location and or aging out. Some of the rosemary or between the curb and the sidewalk, you just have to keep them off the sidewalk and the curb, and you end up trimming them and all you see is wood. So they've definitely overgrown that area. I think it is,
Yeah, it's hard to hear you guys.
is it? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
But I think you're in need of replacing some plant pallet type with a whole different type of pallet. And that's something that we would offer and design certain areas, give you choices on plants and trees that we feel would work better. But I think it's definitely to that point where you're going to have to remove and replace quite a bit. Curtis?
I also think can you guys hear me if I speak a little louder like that?
Yes.
I also think that, you guys seem to be quite well aware that your irrigation system is in need of replacement. And I think that's really imperative. And it's very forward thinking of you guys, because a lot of HOAs are unwilling to do this. But I think a lot of the plant stress you're seeing out there, and some of it is from a failing irrigation system, but to kind of allude to what Sean said, some of it is just poor plant choice, plants that are just not really thriving anywhere in the whole valley. And so we would recommend some changes there to put in plant material that would thrive better. But I think you've got a good structure, you've got good bones. I think the community, the tree health is pretty good. There's definitely a few dead trees out there. But I think the property is a beautiful property, but we certainly see lots of areas that we could make improvements in.
Two quick questions, probably quick answers, I hope. How many of your staff would you have on site on a daily basis? And have you ever done work in Providence before?
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah.
So our bid includes 8 full-time employees on the job, including, and in addition to that, an account manager and his assistant, which we term a field manager. And then what was the second part of the question?
Have we done any work in Providence?
We've taken care of several of the HOAs, the sub-associations you guys have out there. I wish I could remember the names straight off the top of my head, but we probably got 5 or 6 of the sub-associations out there.
But no work for the master.
No, we've not done any work for the master. But we've got probably 10 masters that we take care of in the city right now.
Anybody else?
Don't have any other. No. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking time to talk to us. Do you guys mind if I just addressed the irrigation bid and why we chose not to bid on that?
Please. I wanted to ask, but I didn't know if it was proper.
No, so ultimately, I sent an email over to management to basically say, look, we didn't feel like the information given was quite expansive enough to provide a meaningful bid, and essentially said that if without this, we think you're going to have a wide gap in the bids. And so I kind of made a list of things that I would expect to see. We'd love to bid the project. We'd be thrilled to bid it. And I think we feel comfortable in thinking the budget, that we can come up with a gross budget, but we'd need a lot more detail to provide a meaningful bid, if that makes sense. And I can go into some of those details if you'd like me to.
You can pass those along to the management staff. If that's something we want to take up and include that, we can consider that offline here.
A couple quick questions, if I could. The current staffing that you guys are requesting, is that the current staffing that's on the property at this time, or have you increased it because you see a need for more manpower?
Currently, we have 10 on the weekdays, and on the weekend, we have 1 extra person.
Okay. Do they have current soil tests? I know you asked for annual soil tests. I just wonder if you have current recent soil tests and a tree inventory, if you have a tree inventory, or we would be creating one from scratch.
We have all of that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for your time. We've always been interested in this property. I think it's a beautiful property, and I think you would be very, very happy and impressed with our team that we've built and what we would bring to your HOA. And I encourage you to go out and look at our properties, call our references, and get to know our work a little better. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Jody. Just have to click leave somewhere on there.
Okay, board, if you're ready for the next one, it's going to be Gothic.
Good.
Hi, Gail. Okay. So I have Jay as well. Are there any other members from your team that need to be admitted into the Zoom? You're on mute. You got to unmute yourself. Mm-mm. Okay. Perfect. So I have you and Jay on here. And then are there any other members of your team that I need to admit into the Zoom?
What happened to Jay?
Is that your phone number, Gail?
And Jay,
Jay, are you able to, or can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Is this phone number that's also in here, is this a phone number with Gothic?
Which phone number is that?
It ends in 11092. You should be able to see that on your screen.
11092. I'm not seeing that.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Well then, Jay, I just have you and it looks like we can't really hear Gail. So you'll see up at the top that there's a screen with a bunch of tables and our lovely board sitting around it. So this is your time to have the board ask some questions regarding the maintenance contract and also the irrigation contract that you guys provided.
Okay.
Board, I don't know if you guys want to start off with some questions, or Gothic, if you'd like to kind of make a segue.
I'm comfortable with Gothic starting, telling us about themselves and what they think of our property.
Hold on one second. Okay, go ahead, Gail.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear Gail?
Okay, there we go.
Okay, sorry, board. Can you repeat that question?
Tell us about Gothic.
Gail, tell they want to know about Gothic. Want to give them the rundown?
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. We're having just a little bit of audio problem. I apologize for. I tried to get this set up ahead. At Gothic, we are a privately held company, and we operate in Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and California. Our corporate office is in Valencia, California, and we're 2,500 employees strong right now. And in Las Vegas, our largest portion of business are large HOAs.
And you toured the Providence property. What do you think you could bring to the property?
Gail, can you hear?
No, I have no.
Um,
I'm gonna leave and come back in. I can't hear. I'm so sorry. Are you?
so Gail's going to try and come back in. I'm Jay Isola. I'm the regional irrigation specialist. So I handle basically anything that there is to do with irrigation for Gothic. I've been with them for 15 years. If you had any questions about the irrigation, I can happily answer those questions for you.
You bid on the irrigation retrofit project.
Yes.
What do you know about it, and what do you think of that situation?
So I went through the entire property. I also looked extensively at the different phases 1 through 4. It's definitely in need of some upgrades, basically some improvements. It's definitely showing its age. I think what you guys are looking for and what you're asking for would be a very good benefit to help with the health of the plant material that's existing. I think that might be some of the reasons why you may have had some plant material loss. Some of the irrigation is very old. There's a lot of breaks. It needs to be updated, basically.
I have some questions, I just don't know if I need to wait until Gail comes back or what. Will Gothic handle and pay for as needed traffic control and barricades as part of the bid for the RFP?
Yes, that's all included.
Will Gothic add 2 to 4 inch bevel rock per RFP to add interest? This is not listed on the bid, but it's part of the RFP and should be included. The first paragraph of the bid states it is based on specifications.
I didn't get that first part. Will Gothic what?
Add 2 to 4 inch red bevel rock for the RFP to add interest.
So we saw that in there. We basically bid for all 3/4. However, we did notice that there were some areas that did have the 2 to 4 inch rock that was basically around some of the tree wells. So basically, based upon what you currently have, yes, we can add some of the 2 to 4 inch rock around the tree wells.
At the same price?
Say it again.
We add that extra rock at the same price, or would that be an additional cost?
We put that around some of the tree wells, like how you currently have it. If you'd want more rock than that, I believe we'd have to, the footage would then be an additional cost, slightly, but not very much.
But just changing.
We do have some 2 to 4 inch rock around some trees.
Just changing the size of the rock would not increase the cost, but.
Yes, because the footage, the square footage, gets much smaller, so more tonnage would be needed. So if you wanted to increase, then we'd have to add more tonnage.
My last question is, if requested, can Gothic provide service on the weekends? And if so, what cost?
Yeah, we can definitely add service to the weekends.
And at what cost?
At what cost?
Tony's just added, he'd be better. Tony, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me. I'm very sorry. I was having some troubles.
Thanks for joining us, Tony. So what's going on right now is you'll see in the room with all of the tables is actually the board of directors. So they're just asking a few questions. Gail, I'm not sure if you can hear us, but we're still having a hard time hearing you. And Jay's just been going over some of the irrigation questions.
Okay, thank you.
Should I repeat my question?
Yeah.
Okay. Can Gothic provide service for the weekends, and if so, what cost?
Yes, we can provide, I mean, depending on what you want, Saturday and Sunday. I don't have the actual total cost with me, but I can tell you it would be the same hourly wage, excuse me, that we have set up in the normal contract. Did you guys hear me?
Yeah, we heard you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Not sure. I'm having difficulties here, so bear with me, and I'm sorry.
Has Gothic done any projects for the Providence Master in the past?
Not for the master, but we have done projects for the other small communities within the property.
What's the biggest community that you serve in Vegas?
The largest for my branch is Aliante Master.
And how many staff would you have on a regular basis during the week?
At Aliante?
Here.
I'm sorry, for this contract, it would be eight men every day, and it would be 5 days a week. So they'd be up here 40 hours a week.
What times would they be here?
I'm sorry, you say what time? Yeah, leaving from our office, like for the time right now, they'd be on site by 7 a.m. When the summertime and we can start earlier, possibly with all the streetscape and not making a lot of noise due to the ordinance, we could start as early as 6 or 6:30.
They'd be done by 2, 3 o'clock?
Yes. And that, again, that's the summertime.
Yep.
Now, if I may, it's, you know, if it was something that you wanted to where we would stay a little bit longer in the afternoon and start later in the day, in the morning, we could.
Anything else? I don't have anything else. Guys, anything else that we need to know?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jody.
Sorry about that. Okay, perfect. So the final one, it looks like, is going to be Brightview, who you guys currently have. So give me just a minute and I will get them all in. Let's see. Hi, John.
Hi there.
I'm trying to make sure I get everybody in. So I have a Nick.
See Chris, I see Kevin. Hi, Jody.
Hi, Chris. I have a Nick and a JJ Dake. Are either of those with you guys?
Yes, Josh is with. No Nick. No Nick.
No Nick, but
we
Josh,
do have
yes.
Jay. Yes.
Perfect. So you will see we have our board and they are in attendance. So they are all at the tables. And if you give me 1 second, I'll get them unmuted and then you can continue. And this is really more of a time for them to be able to ask you some questions as well.
Perfect. Great.
Thank you, Jody. Josh, are you on?
I'm on.
Awesome.
You got me? Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
Smiling.
Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. It looks like they're having a little bit of there we go. Board, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Go ahead, gentlemen.
Hi, good evening, everybody. This is
How are
Chris.
you?
Good. Good evening, everybody. This is Chris Steiner. I'm the branch manager with Brightview. And I'd first of all like to thank you all for having us at your meeting. And if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce the team here real quick, who we have on board. John Fobel, who's our senior account manager. I believe you all know John. Kevin Mefford, who is our vice president and general manager here in Las Vegas. And Josh Dake, who is our senior vice president, who handles the Southwest and the high desert region. So if you can kind of give us a little feel for how you'd like to proceed. I don't know if you have questions, if you want us to kind of jump in or how you'd like to handle it.
You can start by telling us about you. We have a couple of new board members unfamiliar with you guys, but tell us about your company and how you service Providence, what you see for the future.
Sure. Okay. Well, as some of you probably know, we have been up at Providence as your landscape partner now for almost 11 years. And so we've got a lot of firsthand experience there and a lot of knowledge, on the property. Obviously, with a community like Providence, even though, we're a provider, we like to think of ourselves as kind of being part of the family. And obviously we know, our work and how we present ourselves certainly represents the community. And that's something that's very important to us. So with all that experience, again, a lot of firsthand knowledge. We've got, quite a few team members who have been with us for quite some time, especially in the key roles. And, we put together a little org chart that might help you guys kind of visualize what that looks like as far as who our teams are up there and kind of how we're set up. If that's something you'd like to spend a minute going over, we certainly can do that. So again, you can see here real quick. So we've got Kevin there. So the way we kind of laid this out was, the years with the company and then the years involved with Providence. And so Kevin was really involved from the get-go. Myself, I came in a couple years later and have been up there 8 years helping to oversee it. John's been on board 4 years with Providence, 10 years with the company. And then Gabriel Artiega, who's our production manager and on vacation tonight, he's been up there for 4 years now. And so Marcos kind of runs the team that does the streetscapes and handles the mowing. Angel and Nabor handle our trash for us along the streets. Mike handles the crew that does the promenade and the parks. And then Angel's our irrigation tech. And so that's kind of what we found over the years works best. There's quite honestly been a lot of trial and error and a lot of tweaking to kind of get us to the model that we're running now that we feel is the most efficient to get the work done and keep the property looking great. In addition to that, some of the other things that, we've tried to provide, with the community along the lines of, monthly report that kind of goes through what we've done, what we plan to do, any things related to landscape or sometimes not even landscape that would be good for the board and certainly the management to know about. We've been working through a rolling 5-year landscape plan for 6 or 7 years now, that kind of goes over operating costs on some of the larger projects, as well as some of the capital expenditures to help you all budget and figure out kind of how you want to do things with our feedback, of course. We've been fortunate enough to be involved in a lot of the events in the community over the years, helping with setup and tear down and just, being present to help out with any of the homeowners or any of the management team when you need assistance. Done, a fair amount of designs over the years and some of the stuff that, quite honestly is kind of getting to the end of its life. And so we've been able to kind of give you a visual of sort of what we're proposing and what that would look like. and then go ahead and, with your approval, install it. One of the recent projects there was the median on Durrell that had been an ongoing problem with some line of sight stuff. And so, we worked with the management team and actually the city of Las Vegas as well to provide a solution to that problem. And hopefully, you're getting some positive feedback as far as that goes. And we've helped assist in a kind of a long-term problem there that hopefully going forward will no longer be a problem. As a, large scale landscape provider, certainly we have, resources that really are unrivaled by anybody else, not just locally, but, even, nationally. And for those of you that have been in Providence for a couple of years now, you may remember back in 2017, we had a pretty good flood come through there on a July morning, bright and early. And, we were able to pull the resources together to get everything cleaned up and at least make it passable and maybe not quite as crazy as it was when you left for work by the time you got home. So it was quite an undertaking, but that's one of the things that we're able to provide with some of the resources that we have. We also, if we ever have a situation up there, and hopefully we don't, where we've got a lot of trees that maybe need to be addressed due to a storm or something along those lines, we do have an in-house tree service, so we can handle that as well. And so really, I feel like we're pretty well positioned to assist in anything that may come up that we need to handle from a landscape standpoint. Anything you guys want to add, John, Kevin, Josh?
Sure. This is Kevin. I just want to thank you really for all the years and years of loyal service, and you guys have been a great customer, and we're just so proud to be part of Providence, and we'll do everything we can to make meet your landscape objectives and help you through whatever challenges that you may be facing, and real solutions. I'm glad you said that, Chris. That's what we really need to provide for you folks, and the partnerships along with it, and just having a well-maintained community with a good advanced plan. So we just here for you. Thank you very much for all the years.
Hey, John, you've been feet on the ground here in Providence for quite a few years. You talked about knowing where all the plants are at, all the valves and things like that. Can you share your knowledge a little bit about that?
Yeah, if you want to discuss a little bit of the irrigation retro that we did this year on Schaumburg. As you guys know, well, maybe the new board members don't know, I apologize. Your polytubing that's in the ground that feeds the plants and the trees, the water, you're having catastrophic failure on it. And I'm sure anytime you guys are driving down the road, going to work, you're seeing leaks all over the place. And what's happening is, I don't know if the Zoom, so this is your 3/4 inch polytubing. I actually got this off Providence today. It's splitting. And when we make a repair like this, which is a new pipe and 2 couplers, we reinforce this section, but literally 6 inches, 1 foot, 2 foot down the line, it weakens and splits again. So when we fix one leak, 2 feet down the line, it breaks again. So I've pulled out 20-foot sections of this pipe with literally 16 of these couplers on there. I mean, it's a bad situation. So, we've been working with CCMC and the board in the past to get all your irrigation newly installed, new valves, new polytubing. And when we do that, we also expand the irrigation, the emitters to the plants and the trees. So when you put a 5-gallon plant in, 2 emitters are installed 11 years ago, but now that plant needs 4 to 6 emitters. So we're expanding the irrigation, improving the health of your plant material and trees also. So it took me probably 3.5 weeks to measure up all the streetscapes, count up all the valves. I have right here all the measurements of every median you have and all the streetscapes you have So we took a lot of time and effort to do that. Also, I want to mention in 2016, we did a time study on, we picked a really heavily planted area and a lightly planted area, and we did a retrofit of 4 valves on each area. So we had a real idea of how long it was going to take us, the materials it took to put it in the ground. So our numbers are real. I mean, we know how long it's going to take us to do this project. So that was really helpful. And I thank Providence and management back in 16 for letting us do that time study, because it was really helpful in putting together your 5-year plan.
I have a question on the irrigation retrofit. Right now, we're scheduled to complete the project over 4 phases over 4 years. If we were to speed that up, how fast could you complete it?
And speed it up in means of, would you like to do 2 years in 1 year? Or you want to do all 4 years in 1 year, or?
What could you do? Could you do all 4 phases in 1 year?
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably could if that's, you know, how we want to move forward. I would recommend, if you're thinking 2021, that we get started on phase 2 here real soon, because I don't think it's something that we want to do through the middle of the summer. So we would, you know, want to get started on it so we could get, you know, the first 2 phases in the ground, you know, over the next, say, 4 months, and then, you know, through the late spring and into the summer and into the early fall, and then knock out the, you know, phases 4 and 5, you know, by, say, this time next year. And so certainly we can do that. Like I said, I just would prefer to not go through the middle of the summer for all the obvious reasons that, you know, it's just going to prove, you know, there's going to be a lot of stress on a lot of things. And so, but I believe that, yes, we could do that.
What's your estimated time period for each phase? Are they about the same?
They vary a little bit because, and John probably could speak to this a little bit better, but it varies a little bit because they're not all equal number of valves. And so, John, what do you think?
I think we estimated roughly about 60 days of a project. And like Egan Crest, I think you and I estimated 45 days because it was so many less valves, less landscape area. So they vary, but roughly, let's say 60 days of project.
You have the personnel and equipment where you could do 2 projects simultaneously?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me chime in here real quick. You know, our development partners that are in the same building, and it's just a different division that has installed, you know, all the major hotel casinos. You know, they're a little slow right now, so I think we could pull some resources from them as well. And if you needed it done over 4 quarters, we could do that. And I do agree with Chris that the summertime, we take a quarter or 2 off. For sure, 1 in the heat of the summer, but we could make it happen with, if you needed it in 4 quarters, or, you know what I'm saying, 1.25 years.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, you know, and I oversee, you know, like the Southern California market as well, where in the wintertime we slow down and, you know, our staffing goes down. In some cases, we may be able to mobilize people depending on what the scope of the work is. You know, that is kind of one of the advantages to working with us, is that we do have a larger reach. So if there's emergencies or things like that, you know, we've taken people from the slow season, put them up in hotels, paid them a per diem, you know, different things like that, to get, you know, emergency type projects done.
Yeah, if it's important to you folks, if that's a real desire, I'm sure we could pull something together. Chris and John, you know, we'll figure this out.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Oh, I'm ready.
So hopefully we answered your question.
Yeah, that was good, thanks.
Okay, you bet.
Questions about the regular contract. The proposal states that it's valid for 60 days, and this was open October 15th. So are you still kind of honor the prices in the?
Yes, you know, we're still good with what we submitted.
Okay.
Did we? Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't hardly hear the question. Did Chris answer your question, ma'am?
Any other questions?
I'm sorry. I'm sure. Chris, you heard her perfectly, probably.
I think so. I just want to make sure I answered the full question because it was breaking up a little for me too. So I just making sure.
Yep, you did.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything in conclusion, guys?
Maybe I'll start and just say, I don't know any other way to explain it other than to say, and John and I have talked about this a lot, Providence just somehow gets in your blood. I mean, I've managed a lot of jobs over the years in Las Vegas and even other places. And, I can tell you from the bottom of my heart that, Providence holds a special place. There's been some times where I've kind of been the John over the years. And so, I worked very closely with Randall and with Chris, before, and, to an extent with Garrett and Larry. And so, I mean, there's just something about your community that's special to me. And so, we very much appreciate the partnership that we've had over the almost 11 years now, and certainly hope that it continues. We love to align ourselves with, communities such as Providence.
Go ahead, John. You got any parting comments, John?
Well, as Chris said, I take a lot of ownership up there. Gabe and I have worked really hard on training the crews on site and getting them to where they need to be. Our crew leaders, Marcos, I think, has been there, 4 years, and Mike has been there 6 years. So, I mean, these guys know the rhythm, they know the system, where we're going, what we're doing. And I'm always proud to tell other customers and other people that, Providence is my job. So, no, I always thank Providence for having us up there, and CCMC for being a great partner with us also.
Yeah, well said, John. I can only say that, we have come a long ways. We really have. And the pre-emergent program that we've invested in, that pays off over years and years. And we feel like we're proactively managing the weeds, because that was an issue up on that end of town for a long time. And just that we're in it for the long haul. And if we need to improve in an area, please let us know, so that we definitely will. And we just hope that you would continue with us, and we're here to partner with you. If landscape cost reductions are a goal and an objective, tell us. And we've done that many, many times over the years with many HO master plan communities. So we can help you to get wherever you need to go. So
I think I would just add, there's a great team here, and I know because I visited the site several times, and I know that the team that you have here is really stands ready to partner with you. We know that times change, things change, expectations change, and we're open to that. And we just want to be with you, be able to use the experience that we have on the site, the tenure, all of those things, to be able to bend and flex to whatever the objectives are. We know that, the community has to run like a business, and we know that you folks volunteer your time to do all of this stuff. And we want to be able to take some of that off of you and address whatever the changing needs of the community are. So thank you for letting us talk with you.
With that in mind, the changing needs, I think the biggest thing facing the landscaping community are the leaks. And the homeowners, they drive around and they see all these leaks. You're our current vendor. And it's just amazing how many leaks come out, and just day after day, people are sending pictures, reporting them to management.
Okay.
Who's in charge of that right now?
Sure.
And I think that's, one of the reasons why, we kind of put together this 5-year plan, because for a while I was literally managing, the calls on that. And I know, there were days where we'd get, 30 emails on stuff. And, John kind of explained, how we're fixing it, and how the pipes just continue to come apart. And it's kind of the age they're at. And this is something that, you're hardly alone as far as communities that, are facing this. And, I can tell you with a high degree of confidence that, the area along Schomburg that we did, it's basically been leak free since. And so, I think this is the long-term answer. I understand it's a huge investment, obviously, but, so is the value of the landscape that it's watering. And so, it is something that, it's going to need to be done one way or the other. And we'd love to work with you to solve this problem.
I think too, to that point, just, and the gentleman who had asked earlier, how fast we can accelerate the project. I mean, we stand here ready to do that and work with you to create whatever the reasonable timeline is, and that you can communicate that out to the homeowners who do have the questions, and maybe present a plan and a timeline that hopefully would quiet some of the noise, but certainly we understand that.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Night.
Well, let me know anything good.
So I got a question. R3 said that they were not able to give a bid on the irrigation because they did not have some information. But Gothic was able to do that.
Right.
So what did Gothic have that Part 3 couldn't get?
Jode?
So I believe Brightview is the one that actually at the very beginning of everything had all of the numbers as far as valves, feet. And so that wasn't included in the RFP because they went and did the work to get those numbers. So I did send the RFP over, I believe, to Katie and Phil. I'm sorry, I don't know if I sent it to Phil. Katie, I know I sent it to you. So it was just letting them know this is what we're looking for, that you would have to go out and count valves, lines, sprinklers, footage, all of that. And they came back saying that they would need that information in order to provide the bid.
They being Part 3?
Correct.
Okay.
And then that would explain the difference between Gothic's bid and Brightview's is that different size plants, different number of rock, different number of valves and things.
Correct. For the maintenance. So the maintenance was apple to apple. The difference for the irrigation is that they weren't given how many square footage, how many tons of rocks. They weren't given any of that information.
So it was left to each vendor to go out and make those measurements themselves and count the valves.
They chose not to do that.
Okay.
Gotcha. The gentleman from Gothic, I believe, was incorrect. They did do a project for the master, and it did not go well, is my understanding.
That was a couple of years ago.
Who was that?
Gothic.
Gothic.
What happened?
Just wasn't pleased with their performance and the result. 2018.
December 2018, they did a rock project for you, and it was not done properly.
Do you guys have any of these companies?
Do what?
Do you guys have any of these companies?
The subs, me?
So, yeah.
No.
We use Brightview in my sub-association.
So going back to the agenda where we left off.
Yeah.
Then we can vote once we get back to those agenda items.
Remind me, where did we go?
That's all right.
Updated collection policy.
Updated collection policy.
The collection policy on the OneNote is not the one of the new business.
This one at the very bottom, Katie, there's two. So there's, in your OneNote, there are two versions. There's the current version, and then at the second one that I included is the latest version, Katie, that you said you were happy with. And you have to scroll pretty far down to see that though.
Okay. Scrolling down, okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Katie, what page are you on?
6C.
6?
Yes.
I have it printed out, if you'd like it printed.
The first 16 of the.
Well, I have it right here.
Okay.
Yeah. Just make sure we're on the same spot.
Okay, yeah. The one at the bottom is the proper application of maintenance paragraph.
Correct.
You think you're happy with that version?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve that version.
Second.
For the homeowners watching and listening, and I'll go back and say that Katie was one as a homeowner, like any one of you can do. She addressed some concerns she had with the board of directors in the collection policy. Last year, the board informally discussed that they would update the policy, but they'd wait until where it could get sent out, so it would be a extra mailing to save money to the association. And now with Katie on the board, she reviewed it. She has a background in community management and is putting her blessing on it. So that's really important and a wonderful thing to have happen.
Shall we vote?
Yes.
Call for vote?
Yeah, motion to approve the.
We already have a
No,
motion in a
favor.
second.
No.
I'll wait for you to say all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any
Abstention.
abstained?
Motion carries.
Okay, what are we next?
2019 financial audit.
Consider 2019 financial audit.
I have one question about this. It says due to the timing of the receipt of the audit, it is not presented to the finance committee for review prior to this meeting. But the letter is dated October 26th. Did we receive it long after that date?
Yeah, unfortunately.
When did we receive it?
We received it late in November. So in actuality, we had a December 3rd finance meeting. This came in late and I didn't add it to the agenda. Certainly the board can choose to move forward with this, or I can put it to the committee if the board chooses.
Is there a necessity to send it back to them, you think, Katie?
I read through it. I don't necessarily think there is. I mean, if we want to be fair, we could.
I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Well,
She said
one
if
of
you
the
want to
questions.
be fair, we could.
But there's
Yeah.
no reason to, that's what you said.
To be fair.
Just one question, just for my knowledge. What does SBA stand for in that specifically? Is that the benefit of communities somehow?
Page you look at?
Yeah, this is on page 3. It breaks out into operating fund, reserve fund, and then SBA operating funds and SBA reserve funds.
Special benefited area, perhaps, SBA.
It looks like the benefit of communities for the amount of money.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
On the table of contents, it does say balance sheet by special benefit areas.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay, thanks.
Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Any discussion, guys?
No.
Do you want to call for the vote?
Yes. Aye? What's the, hey, one more time, what's the right way? All in favor? I'll get it.
That's all right.
Ask for no's,
You're learning.
ask for abstentions.
Huh?
Ask for no's, just to, because we're wearing masks.
Yes, any no's?
Nay.
Anybody abstain?
4 to 1 vote.
Look, if people actually talk like this, it wouldn't be a problem. I don't talk like this. I'm not used to talking.
I don't know. All right.
I'm used to saying, Walt, what do you think? Okay, review and consider seal coat at Knickerbocker Park.
Unfinished business.
Review and consider meeting minutes.
Yeah, where did the seal code?
Unfinished.
No, it's just.
That's what was handed to me?
No, there's something on the agenda that shouldn't be. The seal coat in Knickerbocker Park. Wasn't removed.
You don't have that right there?
That's why I couldn't find it.
No. Unfinished business. What am I gonna do?
No.
All right, review and consider October 15th, 2020 Board of Directors meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
One more time?
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
What I sent over to you, was that fixed?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We actually found one other error when we were looking at what you had caught as well, so we corrected everything that we found.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain?
I abstained, because I wasn't there.
Okay.
And I'm changing for those there.
Okay, we're going to consider treasurer's report.
There's not going to be an actual page for this, but this is Katie's.
Oh, I didn't actually know that. All right, well. Let me find it. Kind of, yeah, I was notified on Monday that I would be the right one. and
Oh, but you finished that page.
I was waiting on further numbers, but I will find what I have.
Yeah, no, I sent that to you. You want me to resend it to
Oh, I
you?
didn't get it.
Yeah.
Sure, no problem.
So, yeah. I'm sorry, Katie, did you have something?
I did send over a list of questions that I was gonna report, and Tasha filled in the numbers for me. I thought that there was gonna be further numbers, so I'm waiting for it.
You want to do it?
I could. I didn't know that, yeah, I didn't know until Monday that I was supposed to write one, so
Why don't we do it in January, unless it's something pressing?
I would think, like,
Something pressing, you know what?
not really.
Let's just wait, I think it's a great one.
Since this meeting, we're not approving any financials, so the financials that were approved at the last meeting are still the most current ones standing. So if we were to read off the balances of those, it's the same as the last meeting.
Okay, to take over?
Darn me.
Okay, moving
I
on.
gotta find her.
I just sent it over to you.
I mean, I can read what I have so far, but.
Do you want me to read what I wrote back to you? For everything that you had asked?
Oh, I got it. It just took me a second. to figure it
Okay.
out. Okay. The amount of money in the operating is $1,598,701.54. The amount of money in the reserve is $1,103,120.13. The revenue for October is $305,676.65. Expenses for October is $231,397.16. The total year-to-date on the park expansion,
I will email to you guys.
they're waiting for shared services to get back. The approximate amount left to be spent on the park expansion project is $0. The amount paid on the loan to date on park expansion, loan repayments do not begin until January 2021. To date, only interest has been paid in the amount of $2,628.84. The amount owed on the loan to date on park expansion as of 9/30 is $565,648.96. The year-to-date total on the irrigation project is $116,005. The number of phases completed for the irrigation project is 1. The number of phases left is, under the current project, there are 4 phases left. And the approximate amount left to be spent on the remaining incomplete irrigation project, well, that's up to you for tonight for bids, but it's approximately $610 remaining for this project. 610,000, sorry, 610,000.
You're like, sold.
Get those landscapers back into it.
Right? Thank you, Katie.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we want to move on to the landscape maintenance proposals. Assuming I'm looking at it. Yeah, was that right? Okay.
So one question on the summary been prepared. The location breakdowns for Brightview and Gothic add up to their monthly cost bids. But the one for Park 3 is way off.
I'm sorry, can you say what one?
The, at the bottom it says location breakdown. For Brightview and Gothic, those numbers total their monthly costs. But for Park 3, it's way under what their monthly cost is. Is that something Park 3 did or something that did?
Joan?
I'm sorry, Phil, I'm having a kind of a hard time. Numbers not matching up and part 3's is different.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of the comparison report, the location breakdown. This is reference.
1 second and I'll pull it up. That's just off of everything that was sent over in the bids that they provided to us.
Common area and right of way, 2100, that's
Zero in the first two rows.
that's accurate, Jody?
I'm pulling it up right now. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, that was.
Okay, because it's 100 in the ballpark, the first two are way off. But if you had a zero, then they're in the ballpark. They're all at 100. Conversation, I'll make a motion to get us going.
A motion would be great because then it opens everything up for discussion.
Fantastic. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the price you bid for the service you think.
Second, anyone? At least for the purpose of discussion.
I will second it.
I have a couple questions. When is Breakthrough's contract, current contract over? Are they on a month to month now?
Let me look at. It is over.
Or it is month one.
It's over and it's not tomorrow.
Okay. I'd second the motion.
Well,
Okay, I'm ready to vote.
you guys can discuss, so you guys can start.
I'm sorry, Phil, that was 21,000. So I am missing a zero on that comparison. I apologize for that I'm sorry, for part 3.
And the second number is 11,000, Joe?
Second row there.
For Knocker Barker Park.
For the common areas and right of way, it should be for par 3, it should be 21,000.
Next row, you have 1,100, it should be 11,000, we think.
For Knickerbocker?
Correct. Yes.
One Knickerbocker on two.
That's okay, I do that one time.
Fair enough. Any more questions?
All in favor?
I'll call.
Huh?
Go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain?
How easy that was.
What'd you say?
Look how easy that was.
Okay, review and consider community management proposals.
This was another item that the prior board felt to hold off until, because we knew there was going to be at least one additional board member, possibly 2 on the board. So everyone can have a say so.
I make a motion that we defer this until January, because I'd like to get more information from Tara West. I'd like to see a copy of the RFP, because I haven't seen that yet. Tara West proposal was pretty sparse.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they were responding. I don't know what the RFP was, so I don't know. if they
Well, and it's-
responded adequately.
Well, we could definitely get the RFP over to you. What they submitted was super sparse, like they
Yeah.
didn't give us a lot of information.
Probably not a coincidence it was funny.
Why?
I'm not sure if interested.
They are.
They may be interested.
I was interviewing Susan Nolan, who's one of their vice presidents, this week for Verada View, and we discussed this bid too, but not in specifics.
Right.
I made it clear that I wasn't speaking for the board in any way, of course, but they're very interested, and she's ready to answer any further questions we have and provide any detail that we need to.
Sorry, motion on the floor is to defer until January. Do we get
Some
a,
associations, which I know are not as important as the Master Association, there's so many that had so many problems with terror. I was gonna say Terror West, which has become their nickname here in the province area.
1 second. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Katie, what do you think of Carol?
It all depends on what manager you get. Because you can have some great managers and then you have some terrible managers. I'd like to see an expansion of their bid because they didn't send over all of the I would actually like to see CCMC come back with an updated bid too, because their contract has not been updated since 2006. And there's a lot lacking in it. There's a lot of fees that we are being charged that is not listed in the contract, which are required to be in the contract. Based off of what I've seen from all of companies, I would not vote to approve any of them right now. I would like to see some more bids, to be honest with you.
Or bids from different companies?
Yep.
Do you have any particular companies in mind?
Not really, no.
Keith, when you were contacting companies for bid, my understanding is that it's hard to get bids from some of these companies because they think that Providence is so ingrained with CCMC.
Yes,
True.
a couple of companies wouldn't even meet with me. And you'd be stunned at how lacking the customer service was. I mean, I had some community managers tell me straight up, "You're not serious, we're not placing a bid." It's the first time I've done it, but I can tell you, I would not speak to a potential customer that way.
Right.
I was stunned. Now, a couple of the other ones, they were very polite, very helpful. I met with them on multiple occasions. Associa and who else did I meet with?
First Service.
First Service. And we met with them up here too. So, but yeah, there's a lot of companies, I mean, you know this better than anybody else, they just won't take your call.
Right.
Because either it's
Right.
beyond their scope, or they don't think you're being serious, they think you're just doing your diligence, so.
I've had the opposite. So I've talked to several companies when I'm soliciting bids for view. Some of the small companies who I don't think are capable of handling it express their willingness to bid and
I
claim that they have the resources to handle these, like the Master Association.
Now, I did have that happen on one occasion, and man, they were enthusiastic, and then it came time to put together the bid, and it never came.
Yeah.
And I called them up too, and I said, "Guys, we met, it was a good conversation, we talked to you on the phone several times, and that's the bid never came."
Right.
So.
I would actually like to see if, because First Service Residential, First Service Residential, I would say backwards. I would highly suggest not going in that direction, but I would be interested in seeing if Associate would negotiate on any of these fees, because they had a laundry list of fees. They were extreme, and there's some that I would refuse to pay. So I'm wondering how set they are on all of these fees.
And there's the thing with CCMC, we gotta get their fees
Right.
written down in
Right.
writing and work with them.
Right.
So, definitely delay, I would be in favor of delaying, as you said, next month. Get Terra West full information, but also work with Associa and even CCMC to get these fees worked down.
Keith, did you speak to Terra West?
No, I did not talk to
believe that
them
was
once.
Howard.
Howard did all
She's
that.
spoken to.
I didn't talk to Tara West.
You just split them up, is that how that went?
I'm sorry?
You just split up the list with Howard, is that how that went? Is there a particular reason that you didn't speak with them? Did they not show interest in speaking to you?
He had started the process, and that was the one he was working on, and the process needed to be moved along a little bit quicker. So I offered to help. I need the rest of the calls. So.
Oh, he was doing it all by himself at first?
Effort.
Okay.
So I kind of took the reins and started meeting with people.
Do you feel like we don't have all the information we need to make an informed decision?
I don't have a problem one bit. I'll tell you the truth, if it was pushing it back any further than January, I would ask that we do something a little bit sooner, but I don't want to push it back.
We don't have any time crunch here since we're on a month to month.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't bother me. And I offer Phil and Katie, I offered all you guys, if you want to talk to those people, that's fine. It's nothing. I got a little more than an email relationship. I had a few phone calls with them. I would say we need to make a decision, but if we want to take between now and the middle of January for you guys to talk to these people at Associate, get the more fleshed out bid from Terra West. Sounds like First Residential, we're not interested in pursuing it all.
I would say so.
Is that based solely on their bid or on prior experience with them as well?
Prior experience.
And their bid, their fees are pretty cheap as well.
I mean, I will say, of the ones we talked to, that is the one I was least enthusiastic about, so that didn't bother me one bit.
Let me make a motion before we vote on Phil's motion. I'd like to make a motion to remove First Residential from the conversation.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay.
Are we gonna go back to all these people and ask them to amend their bid? Like, is that our intention?
I think we should
We can, yes.
go back and ask them to clarify their fees.
Yes.
And then even, I mean, change the fees too, we can use this as negotiation as well.
And who's gonna do that?
I'll do it.
Gonna continue doing that?
I'll help you with it.
Okay, I mean, I see no reason why everybody can't be on
I can do it
the
too.
text thread. I mean, I didn't bother me one bit.
Or you have a conversation with them, and if people wanna help us, I think you should have a conversation at the same time. If Bill and Katie wanna help, that's just fine, but
Sure.
we shouldn't be having separate conversations. We're gonna get different answers and different conversations.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about a separate conversation. I'm talking about everybody being on the email thread. I mean, just like we've been doing.
If we're emailing or having a phone call, I think it should be at the same time with all the.
Sure.
Is my point.
I'm with you.
Should we vote on Phil's motion? The defer till postpone till January that we're doing?
Yes, postpone bill check.
So you gotta be careful with the words.
I got the words out.
He's got it though. He's heard me correct it enough.
Let's vote on it. I think we're gonna postpone it. Let's see what happens.
Okay, motion to postpone the management company, community management proposal decision till January 14th, 2021.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion
And
carries.
we're limiting it to the three who've already quoted.
One time?
Terra West, CCMC Questions and Associate. We're not opening it back up.
No, I mean, that's not my intuition.
Clarify,
We always,
you're okay with that?
I'm okay with
yeah,
that.
all right. Cool.
Tasha, is the RFP somewhere available in the portal? Or
Yeah, we'll get it over to you.
I haven't logged into that yet, so I haven't explored it yet.
We good on that?
Yep.
Irrigation retrofit proposals.
Okay, before we proceed on that, I have a major issue with this description that's presented in the board package because it is completely contrary to the narrative that was presented when dues were increased and it was blamed on a sudden unexpected failure of the irrigation system. According to this, the irrigation system is 12 to 15 years old and the standard useful life is 10. So if this is correct, then it wasn't sudden, it wasn't unexpected, it should have been planned for in the reserve study. So information that's been put out to the members for over a year now contradicts this, which is correct.
You heard the man say catastrophic failure.
He did, but what you guys were saying and what we were told, mainly why the dues were being increased, is because we had this sudden catastrophic failure. It was completely unexpected, caught everybody by surprise. If the system is 10 to 15 or 12 to 15 years old, expected life is 10. It should have been expected because it should have been in the reserve study to replace it already. And we should have had adequate reserves to replace it.
It should have been, but it was not. Hence why the new reserve study that did include it is so much higher than it was.
But why did you guys say that it was a sudden unexpected? You said it failed early, is what you said, too. And because the pipes were left out in the sun. This is a completely different story.
I don't know what to tell you, whether this is wrong or what the information the board was given was wrong.
Who gave the information to the board that it was a sudden failure that because the pipes were left out in the sun?
Management. But the point is, all of that is moved now. We're in this situation.
It's not, especially when we're considering new management companies. It's very
with your questions.
I'm pretty irritated that we were misled for over a year. The membership at large was misled drastically.
I don't like the gentleman there with the gray mustache came to a meeting with those pipes in his hand and explained a catastrophic failure. You weren't at that meeting, he was here in person and explained that process. It's exactly what he said.
But the way it was presented to the membership, and me when I asked questions, was that it was not at the end of the useful life of these things. They should have lasted longer. So it was unexpected. It wasn't planned for in the reserve. Obviously, that wasn't the truth.
The last part of what I understood to be true.
That it wasn't in the reserve study?
Correct.
Phil, and I can take blame for this as well because that's my name on that memo. And I wasn't here at that time. So I again apologize for that misstep on my part.
Is it true that these pipes are 12 to 15 years old
Some of them are.
and their service life is 10?
That is dependent upon the manufacturer. The manufacturer actually says that the life expectancy of your polytubing is 6 years. No one replaces polytubing in 6 years. And Chris Steiner was here, who was on the call. He presented to the board of directors and explained that he's had polytubing in ground for 20 years that he's never had any issues with. The issue here was the fact that it did sit in the sun, and it was sun rotted across the street when it sat in Focus's landscape.
But it was also, according to this, at the end of its useful life already.
So in the conversation with Rob Forney, who has done your reserve study, Rob could not give you a useful life when he did your initial reserve study on polytubing because it was already in the ground. So he took the install date and that's what he used as your useful life.
How far did he project out?
I have to go back and look at your study.
Wait, you just said that it wasn't part of the reserve study, but now you're saying that it wasn't in the reserve study?
In the conversation with Rob, if you look at your reserve study, the prior one from prior to this one, landscaping is a bulk number. It's just one cell big number. They didn't break it down by asset. And so we went back to Rob and said, Rob, this is an issue, this is a concern. And Rob said, we provided a one lump sum for landscaping. We did take irrigation into consideration. However, because it's already in the ground, we took by the install date in our factoring for those numbers, but we don't break it down by individual asset. We give you one lump sum for you to utilize for landscaping.
So it was in the reserve study, the previous reserve study.
Partially, yes, but it's not the full thing. And Rob explained that they will never put a full irrigation renovation in your reserve study because the expectation is that you're doing it in sections, much smaller sections. Because of your failure up here, you're having to do large expansive sections, which is why your reserve study did not have the allocated funds. Which is why your landscaping, I think in your reserve study was either 300,000 or 400,000. And so when we had the conversation, I said, Rob, this is like a $1.2 million project because you'd never see that in your reserve study because you would never see that type of catastrophic failure that you're having unless there's an issue with the material that's put in the ground.
You want to talk about the irrigation retrofit proposal?
Yes, let's.
Okay.
May I get a motion?
Well, going by that, we already chose Brightview for our landscape maintenance. They're the ones who put in the retrofit. They're gonna be the ones maintaining it, so they'll be able to cover it under warranty. Anything that goes wrong, it could go wrong, plants dying, etc.
Do they offer warranty?
Yes, Brightview's warranty is pretty extensive.
The Gothic offer warranty?
To clarify, Brightview's warranty is extensive for plants that they plant and maintain.
That's pretty reasonable.
And keep
No,
in
we're
mind,
doing the irrigation now.
Gothic proposal contingent upon their maintenance, upon them being the maintenance contractor.
Right.
They would not.
Oh, they have to get both?
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
so
Gothic
like
would not be
one
willing to
choice.
do this.
The Brightview was our only choice at this point? Okay.
I will make a motion to accept the Brightview proposal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I would also like, I mean, it's not on the agenda for this meeting, but to consider the next meeting, speeding the process up.
I love the
As quickly as
questions
they
that
possibly
you
can.
asked.
Our water bill was, I think it's over 100,000 over budget already this year.
I like that idea.
We can't do that for 4 years.
I would like to discuss that in January as well.
We have a surplus of funds going by the last financial statement, so we put that towards it and then you can use more of our funds to get it going.
Well, we have an equal priority of replenishing the reserves because the reserves are going to be at 25% as of 1 January.
25%.
That's what it says instead. which is dangerously low.
That bad.
Incredibly low.
It is. I've had a lot of thought on that recently.
That's not good. No, that bad. Did we finish that up? Irrigation?
Well, you need
Yes,
to,
everybody, yes?
you gotta call for the
Everybody,
vote.
yes?
Yeah.
5 yeses.
Yes.
All right.
That would go.
Review and consider check signing resolution.
So the association, just went over to VMS, and with VMS, they do have an electronic signature, option available for all of the signers. We do appreciate and love when the board members come in and sign checks. That's just a way for us to connect with you all, but we also want to provide this as an option to you as well to approve the invoices with your electronic signature. You're able to look at the invoices in real time. You don't necessarily have to wait for us to send you the backup. So we have provided you with a resolution of the check signing process as well as the payables policy. And we have tendered this over to Michael Showman for him to look at and just review to ensure that there wasn't anything missing. We were not charged for that, just to ensure that all of our I's were dotted and all of our T's were crossed. So before you and your board packet, you do have the resolution indicating the new electronic signing process.
I had a couple of things on this. Paragraph 7, use of credit card accounts. I would recommend not even having that in there. If the community manager needs to charge something, I think they should charge it on their account and invoice us as any other vendor. And if we are going to have that, I think we should limit it. At least not have the lifestyle director. I don't think there's a need for lifestyle director to have credit card.
I was thinking that was the person who needs to have it more than anyone. They're the ones that go to Sam's Club, et cetera, and pick up different things for events and such.
I would end that practice as well.
I agree.
Is the intent of that just for emergencies, or is that for?
So there are some operations as far as like the vehicle, the Providence vehicle, it needs to have gas. So that's not necessarily something that Lifestyle would take care of. Oil changes, that's not something
maintenance
that,
of the
you know,
vehicle.
Lifestyle would take care of. That's
Okay, why can't that be
That's not a
treated?
management contract.
Because the
So-
vehicle's not ours.
Why can't that be treated
Where
as any other
the vehicles
vendor?
in
though?
the management contract?
I'm sorry?
Where does it say management contract that Providence is responsible for vehicles?
The vehicle is your asset. It was purchased by the association and the association has title. That is not our vehicle.
Okay, so where does it, so.
Why would it would not be in our contract, Katie, because it's not our asset.
Okay, so did you require us to buy it for you?
No, the vehicle was purchased by the board of directors, 12 years ago now, 11 years ago?
Okay, is there current car insurance on the vehicle?
Yes, it is.
Okay, because there's only, from what I was told by the accounting department, there's only been 1 month of car insurance that's been paid this month,
So
or this
your
year.
car insurance is bundled in your insurance package from your broker, so it's in there.
Okay, I'd like to see a copy.
Okay.
How much was charged in the credit card so far this year? Do we know that number? Because we're talking about a couple $100, it's kind of.
We'd have to pull it up.
We'd have to pull
Give a
it.
ballpark number?
And also, I understand Katie was saying that it's not, we just get a bill for the credit card, it's not itemized by what the charges are for.
Right, it just says credit, on all the financials, it just says credit card, credit card, credit card, credit card,
On the
credit card.
financials, it is, however,
Right.
on the backup that is provided to the board, it does give the
breakdown
reconciliations
is
of
on there,
everything and
yeah,
where
yeah.
it's being coded to.
It has the receipts, like they're talking about gas receipts and stuff. You'll see those in the check run.
Okay. Once I get on the board. I just got my password today and I haven't been on it. Okay, and then the date is wrong at the bottom, that's easy to change.
Right, we did December 17th. It's not one.
Okay, the one we have on the screen here, wrong. That's no big deal. And then page 13, when it says a minimum advance of one estimated payroll will be kept on deposit by management. Does that just mean that you take money from the association's account in advance and keep them in your accounts?
It's held in like escrow. It's held like in suspense so that, because as we process payroll, you see the backup. However, then we fund our account from that.
Okay, where does that help?
It's held in a suspense account essentially. So it's like a trust account essentially.
Okay, should account at the same, we have,
I have to check with shared services, but I believe yes, it should be at Union.
okay. Okay, so then the only other issue is the credit card for the community manager and who we want to have access to it.
Well, if you sign all these checks, you go through all these, is this a problem with credit cards?
No, usually it's used for, like I said, when an event's coming up, the lifestyle director will go pick up things from Sam's Club or Smith's. The assistant manager will order supplies off of Amazon.
Is the documentation of the credit card charges sufficient to know what they're spending money on?
Yes, it shows the pens or whatever office supplies happens to be. Everything is broken down.
You want to make a motion? I make one, but I'm going to abstain because I'm not allowed to sign checks, so I'm not going to take part in this vote, but let's do something.
Somebody make a motion?
Phil, did you have, I mean, what recommendation would you say about the credit cards if it needs to be changed?
I would say omit number 7. Don't have a credit card.
I think the number 7 is limiting the credit cards to these people rather than have anybody.
You would say omit number 7 altogether?
I would pull the credit card. I wouldn't have them using the association credit card.
I know that my.
I don't know that fixes that problem.
Yeah.
Just pulling out number 7.
No, you'd have to.
You'd have to add
do
something
that.
up.
You'd have to do that elsewhere too.
Right.
That's the problem, though. What problem are we fixing? Or is it just a solution?
My son's association, when they use their credit card for something, they charge the association a fee. I would hate to see extra fees added on this. I'm not saying CC.
I would not allow that in my contract for myself, associate management company.
Yeah, it came up.
Is fraud your concern?
Why is it necessary?
Because budget wise necessary.
It's not necessary to do that. They
No,
make
it
it
makes things simpler.
It is simpler, it may be simpler, but it also provides a temptation to defraud or corruption.
It makes it simpler, but it's not always a good idea. Typically, if an association needs to purchase something, it's better to have the management company purchase it and then get reimbursed by the association. And then when they do that, they invoice you with a copy of their receipt that they purchased this on behalf of your association that'll, send to you. I personally don't like the idea of an association having a credit card.
This is different from I'm sure there's an authorization to spend a certain amount of money
Right.
for emergencies without consulting the board up to a certain limit. This is separate from that. Is that correct?
This is separate from that.
Yeah. So I don't see any need for this. It's purely for convenience of staff rather than, and it's,
Exactly.
it could lead to a problem in the future. I'm not saying it has.
Good.
You make a
But
motion to
so
remove
could the
The
receipt.
way to eliminate that is to stop using their credit card and then have them invoice us for everything that they.
You guys, if you're gonna have discussion, you really need to make a motion in order to do that, please. Somebody, I mean, it can be a motion that dies or is whatever, but it needs to be a motion of some sort.
Okay, I move that we eliminate paragraph 7 from this and remove the credit card, cancel the credit card.
I second.
Any discussion?
Discussion would be, I would disagree with that for reasons that we already talked about. I guess I just don't see the purpose, whether you're handing in receipts from the person's corporate credit card versus the association's credit card, it's the same exact thing.
Katie, do you think there's fraud going on?
I don't think there's fraud. I just don't think, I personally, if one of my associations had me a credit card to go buy this, I would refuse it. I would not want anything to do with it. I don't think it's a good idea for an association to have a credit card. It's just, and I'm not saying that anybody is stealing anything or doing anything wrong with it. I just don't think it's a good idea. And I think I don't think associations should be allowed to have them. So.
Phil, do you think there's fraud going on?
No, I've already said that. I have no indication that there's fraud now, but that doesn't lead to a temptation for fraud. I've never had an association where the manager had a credit card to directly spend the association's money like that either.
Right.
Anything else?
I have nothing else.
Okay. Do we need to make a new motion?
No, we need to call for the vote on this one, and then if this motion doesn't pass, then another motion could
Government
be.
ends in a tie. What's that? Does
No.
not pass?
If what?
What if it ends in a tie?
The acceptance?
Phil's motion, the vote on Phil's motion.
If Neil abstains.
Oh, yeah,
Is it the same as it failing?
yeah, because to pass, it has to have majority.
Why are you abstaining?
I can't sign checks. I have a security license,
Oh, okay.
so I'm not gonna take part here. Call for a vote, let's see what happens. Vote on Phil's motion, it's been seconded by Katie.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay? Any abstain?
One.
Yeah.
Okay, so that doesn't pass.
Other business.
But
Next
you gotta-
vote.
So we still need to
vote on
make
the
a
thing with paragraph 7 in.
I'm sorry?
Now you gotta decide if you wanna vote on this with paragraph 7 included.
I make a motion to approve the policy as presented.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Nay.
Any abstain? No abstain. Okay.
Okay, so two motions died. You guys want to make a motion to put this on the agenda for January or remove it? What do you, it's up to you.
A motion that management works with the board members to reasonably resolve the 7 and bring it back to us in January, correct it as best we can.
Postpone till January.
Yes.
But I understand your notes as well.
Is there a direction somewhere or a written policy that gives the rules on how that credit card is to be?
Yes. Did you want me to?
Yeah, can you send that to us too?
So that was my
That was a
motion.
motion, yeah, I was just about to say, the second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? No abstain. You good with that one?
Now, currently, we do have a check signing policy. This policy was primarily to address the electronic signature.
Correct.
So the current policy, just for full disclosure, does have number 7 in it, whatever number it happens to be.
These all need to be in the same policy?
Do what? All need to be in the same policy.
All these different things we're talking about, credit cards, e-signing?
Because that affects how the board is going to sign the check. If
Can't you
we're
just
not-
make an amendment to the current policy? To add something?
we would
I
still-
like those, the e-signing.
You could find out.
This is our existing policy, like, no vote to remove it, probably not gonna change. Can we just make an amendment to add e-signing? Do we need all this language? Is it all e-signing?
The recommendation was to have the new policy drafted to include new information that needed to be in there for the DOT. So it would be recommended that we adopt the new policy because an amendment to the policy would just be the same thing.
With the way that it currently is.
Mhm.
You can come in and sign checks too. Okay.
So Tasha, when you send out the credit card policy, can you also send a copy of the current check policy, check signing policy?
Mhm.
Of course.
Is the homeowner open forum?
Other business, next one, January 2021 at 6 p.m.
Resident open forum.
Resident open forum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Favorite part of the night?
All right, to Providence Board, subject, we are experiencing another year of low rainfall and our main source of water, Lakewood, continues to experience lower water levels. Our current design guidelines for front side yard landscaping indicate minimum 1 tree and 5 different species of plants with a minimum planting of 10 plants. Also, in-ground artificial plants are not permitted. Many of the new artificial plants look very realistic and in some cases look better than real plants in some of our neighbors' yards. Given the real possibility of continued low rainfall and a much smaller lake for our water supply, I respectfully ask the board to review these planting requirements. I hope there is a possibility of revising the design guidelines to minimize our landscape watering usage. And this comes from Larry Kearns in Brighton.
That came from Larry? Yep. The same Larry that's on the design review committee? Well, I think that is worth considering. I will look forward to having that conversation with him.
The second comment is from Joe Van Dyke. He lives in Hampton Glen. It says, please find my comments below. And I apologize, it's kind of lengthy. For as long as I can remember, the Providence Courtesy Patrol has operated golf carts on the public roadways within Providence. Recently, I have had several experiences of almost getting into a car accident with these golf carts, which was troubling to me. NRS 482398 discusses golf cart operation on a public roadway. It provides for a DMV permit in counties which have more than 700,000 people, which would include Providence and Clark County. The statute provides several general requirements in order for a golf cart to be granted one of these permits for a roadway operation, which include brake lights, tail lights, reflectors, and a slow-moving vehicle emblem or placard, such as a large reflective orange triangle. The statute grants a narrow exception to the permit requirement, stating that a permit would not be required if the golf cart is operated during the daytime by a licensed driver, and if it's operated only on the section of the roadway designated for golf carts or a route of access between a private residence and a golf course. Considering Providence has no golf courses and no roadways, Providence have a lane designated specifically for golf carts. This exception does not apply to Providence, and a DMV permit must be obtained, and the aforementioned equipment must be present on any golf cart being operated on a Providence roadway. I have been involved in several close call incidents with courtesy patrol golf carts at night. This is due to it being nearly impossible to see them from a distance when it's too dark out. Their tail lights are barely illuminated. NRS requires them to be visible from 500 feet away. They are only visible from about 10 to 20 feet away. They do not have brake lamps as required. They do not have a slow-moving vehicle placard or emblem as required. I contacted management in mid-November requesting information about their DMV permits. I suspected they did not have these permits because the DMV would not issue them if the golf carts were not properly equipped. Tasha sent me a forwarded response from Courtesy Patrol, which cites the same NRS that I am referring to here. NRS 482398. In this email, Securitas claims an exception to the permit requirement and copy/pasted it and highlighted the portion of the statute which discusses the equipment necessary, which they do not have on their golf carts. Nothing in the statute or in their highlighted portion of the statute references an exception to the requirement to have the permit because they believe they did not need one. This is false. I would love to suggest getting a legal opinion reference NRS 482398, but honestly, it's completely unnecessary. Board members, please do a Google search for NRS 482398 and read the statute yourself. It's very easy to read and in plain English. It says that golf carts must have a permit if operated on a public roadway within a county with over 700,000 people. It gives a list of required equipment and then it gives a narrow exception, which I already described, which does not apply to Providence. Section 9.1 of the association's contract with Securitas states that Securitas will comply with all laws, and if they don't, they are in material breach of contract. My vehicle is equipped with a dash cam, and I have numerous videos and photos of Courtesy Patrol driving these golf carts on the roadway at night without the necessary equipment. I also have the email from Securitas all but admitting that they did not have the necessary roadway permits and claiming they do not need them. I would like the board to demand Securitas stop operating these golf carts on public roadways immediately. until their golf carts are brought into compliance with Nevada law. If any board member wishes to see the email I have from Securitas or dash cam video and still images, let me know and I will gladly share them. That's it.
Does Medicare have anything to add to that?
I have a copy of the email that Securitas, when I followed up with them regarding Mr. Van Dyke's email. So this is what they had sent over. I'm happy to pass it around.
Did you do any further inquiry after that, or did you just take their word for it?
No, because they were asking it of the vendor, I allowed the vendor to provide their
You didn't get
response.
involved at all?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you go to Securitas and get some assurance from them that they're complying with the law?
Sure.
Were the close calls so close that Securitas had an incident report?
Not that I'm aware.
On video, though.
Obviously, safety is number one. There's nothing more important. And so with that in mind, following the laws is right there with it. And we want to make sure that we are following laws and being safe, including all of our vendors.
I agree that they should be asking me to stop operating golf carts on the roads until they can give an assurance that they have the proper permit and the proper equipment.
Anything else?
So he's saying that they have all these things, so that therefore they don't need a permit?
I can't speak on behalf of him, but that's how I interpreted it.
The way it reads is they have an exception because they have those things. They don't need a permit, but that's not the way the law reads. The law reads they have to have a permit.
Okay,
They have to have those things to get a permit.
okay. And he's saying that he's thinking that they don't need a permit because they have those things.
That's what the Securitas
Okay,
representative seems to be saying.
okay.
Anything else?
This Securitas has 2 golf carts. And is there one golf cart that belongs to the association in addition to that?
We don't have a golf cart. Mm-mm.
We don't have one?
No.
We have a Toyota Ranger. It is a low speed vehicle and yours is permitted through the DMV as a low speed.
Okay, I mean,
I'm sorry?
is it similar to a golf cart?
No, it's an off-road utility vehicle. So it's able to do a lot more than a golf cart.
But it's not a covered, completely covered vehicle.
Right.
That's that little green one, I think.
Yeah, so that's the green one, is the enclosed one, yeah.
What's that called in the budget?
That is your Polaris Ranger.
Polaris Ranger, okay.
Yeah.
Tasha, can I get that email, and Lisa, can I get those two you just read? Will you forward me those 2 emails you just read?
Yeah.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second. Oh, we're moving. I move to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
You never had a vote about it. You never called for a vote about it.
We should have.
Aye.